Okay, moving along. So we talked about what happens when we eat. Now let's talk about what it is, what happened to what we drink in order to chase down. So you go downtown LA, you get that danger dog, that bacon wrapped hot dog that's cooked on a cookie sheet. The one that doesn't have any place to wash your hands and no refrigeration. It's always a good idea. Reason why it was a good idea was because you were just drinking beer over at the Staples Center or somewhere, and now you have all the beer which has a lot of liquid. So now that's going to go through your urinary system. So we just finished talking about how that danger dog travels. Let's talk about how that beer traveled. Urinary system. Okay, so what's understand? So urinary system is it involves your kidneys. Okay, so the main thing it's going to do is it regulates your plasma ion concentrations. So plasma ions, what that does is your ions are going to be like your calcium, your bicarbonates, your potassium, your sodiums. Those are all your ions. There's several of those, but it maintains the concentration of those so that we keep a nice balance in our body. Okay, blood volume. Real simple. The volume of blood dictates the pressure in our arteries. So if we have too much volume in there, too much blood pressure, heart disease. So you pee it out. If you pee more, you decrease the volume in your blood. If you get dehydrated, you pee less, so we maintain the volume that's in there. It's that simple. Blood pH is handled by our lungs to get rid of carbonic acid. Carbonic acid cannot be released from our kidneys, but it can do other things. It can do bicarbonate. It can hold on to bicarbonate. It can actually get rid of hydrogen. It gets rid of ammonia, blood urea nitrogen. Okay. It keeps nutrients in our system. It gets rid of metabolic waste, which is mainly going to be our there's a lot of different metabolic waste. There's ketone bodies. There's nitrogen base, ammonias, things like that. These are all things because our body is a chemistry system. It's a chemistry set. And with any kind of chemical reaction, there's byproducts. So we need to eliminate those byproducts so that we can be healthy, because those are toxins they build up. It's also where we activate vitamin D. It's where we make erythropoietin to stimulate red blood cell production. Okay, that's the main stuff I want you to understand. Okay, aids the liver with some metabolic functions. Basically, it gets rid of things that the liver says we need to get rid of. Okay, how do we get rid of everything? Kidneys make urine. Get rid of it. Okay, so our urinary tract is going to be our kidney. Kidneys empty into ureters. Ureters empty into bladder. Bladder empties into the urethra, and then nutrition, urination, peeing, whatever you want to call it. Remember, we have our adrenal glands on top of our kidneys. We have a kidney on the right side, kidney on the left side. Just that simple. Okay. Okay, I think you understand this. You know the kidneys are retroperitoneal. Kidneys actually have some fat in them to try to make sure that they stay safe. If they're fibrous, they're encapsulated so that they are separate from everything else. So a fibrous capsule to keep their shape. They're located on our back, up underneath our last two ribs. Okay, ribs 11 and 12. Right kidney is actually a little lower than your left kidney because your left kidney doesn't have your liver. Okay. And here we go. So we're going to have our spleen. Our spleen is on what side? Our spleen is going to be on the left side. So that's our spleen. This is our stomach. This is going to be our kidney right up here. This is our pancreas over here. And our peritoneum is this area right here. As you can see, retroperitoneal. Okay, the medium indentation is the hilum. Remember, kidney looks like that. So this right here is going to be the hilum. So this is your hilum. The easiest way to remember that is that's where our arteries and veins go into. Okay, pictures would do a lot better. So, renal pyramid looks like a pyramid. Okay, cortex from the outside to where we hit the pyramids. Keep it like that. This right here is your ureter. This is a minor calyx. Minor calyx is empty into the major calyx. Major calyx is empty into the ureter. Okay, I don't care if you understand all this stuff. Talk about the afferent and efferent. Those are the ones that matter. Peritubular capillaries. Talk about all this stuff. Got to get into things that matter. It's kind of not making a lot of sense right now. Okay. So we have an artery, it comes into the liver, it's into the kidney, it goes all the way into the kidney, it goes into something called the glomerulus. Now, glomerulus, to understand it before we get into all the detail, is your nephron is the functional portion of the kidney. It has this little capsule here. That's not good at all. Okay. So we have this capsule here. Now, on that capsule, it runs in this, and he's trying to figure out a decent way to do this. So I'm having a hard time drawing today. Goes around, and then this becomes like the tubules. So this capsule right here is the Bowman's capsule. It has the afferent artery is going to go and it's going to add into this. It's going to spin around here. This is your glomerulus, this big spin of the artery. So when it exits, that's your efferent. The efferent exits. Now this comes around out here, and then it's going to change, and it becomes a capillary bed. This capillary bed is going to circle around the nephron as it goes down. It's going to reabsorb nutrients and water. That's all this is telling you about right now. And then it becomes the renal vein. Okay, gotta find a nice picture of this. So, right here, this is a glomerulus. All the arteries. The afferent artery came in, the efferent takes it out. This is your Bowman's capsule around here. This is your proximal convoluted tubule, how it spins up on itself. Now we have the loop of Henle. We have the descending and then the ascending. Okay. Then we have our distal convoluted tubules. Then we have our collecting ducts. Collecting ducts, they empty into the minor calyxes, which empty into the major calyx. And whatever goes into the collecting ducts, this is going to be our urine. We squeeze out 40 liters worth of liquid into here. That's called filtrate. Then we filter it, and we take the vast majority of that back in to our bloodstream and all the nutrients we want. And whatever's left over becomes urine. So we take like 40 liters per day of liquid out of our blood. And then we put 98% of that back into it. But it's now cleaned. That's the easiest way I want to understand. It's cleaned. It's been filtered. Okay. So filtrate, it turns into urine. Same picture. They kill you with this picture. Cortical nephron just means that it's up here in the cortex. Juxtamedullary means that the part where the blood goes into it, the proximal convoluted, the distal convoluted, that's all going to be in the cortex, but the loops are going to go down into the medullary cavity. As you can see here, the collecting ducts where all the urine was collected empties out, goes down. This is a pyramid. Okay. So, Bowman's capsule. Inside the capsule is the glomerulus. So here we go. This is your glomerulus inside of your Bowman's capsule. Afferent arterial, efferent arterial, right? Let me see. We're going to get some more into this. We don't get back to it. The only thing I want you to know about the glomerulus is the basement membrane. Okay? So the basement membrane is this area right here that gives this stuff structure. Well, I want you to understand it is because diabetes destroys the basement membrane. So when this basement membrane gets destroyed, it makes it so that this entire glomerulus goes into necrosis and dies. So we have this glomerulus that dies. We no longer can filter the blood through, and that leads to a decrease in our glomerular filtration rate, which is the rate of filtration that our kidneys can do. That is called diabetic nephropathy, because the nephron is the functional portion of our kidney. If we destroy the glomerulus, we've destroyed that nephron. If we destroy enough of those nephrons, we go into kidney failure. Kidney failure leads to death. There has to be a reason why you need to understand this stuff. Okay, renal corpuscle. Let's just jump right into this. Okay, what I want you to be aware of is in that filtration, so where that glomerular comes in, those capillaries, they are so small, the spaces in between are so small that it doesn't allow any proteins, it doesn't allow glucose or anything to go through that we don't want to hold on. So we want to hold on to all that stuff. So if we see protein or we see glucose in our urine, in our urinalysis, it means we have a problem going on up in our kidneys. Okay? All right, so the basement membrane I already talked about. Okay, now, this is going to be the loop of Henle. So, on that we have our descending. Descending means it's going down. Ascending means it's going upwards. Alright? Now, when you go down into water, I've always looked at it like this. So if you do a free dive, we see how far down you can go. The deeper you go, the more water there is. Okay? So, as you go down, you're going down, which means you're going into water. So if you go into water, you're going to be doing what? You're going to be, I like to think of it as when you descend, you're into water. When you ascend, you're going out of water. Well, reason why is this? Because as you descend, you're going to be, water's going to move. So the descending part of the loop, water leaves that portion and enters the bloodstream, okay? So you push the water out because you're descending. So descending, you're diving, that's water. Water's going out. Ascending means we're getting away from water. So descending, water moves. Ascending, water doesn't move. Think about this. What we're trying to do is create a difference in gradient of substances in the blood or in the loop. By changing the gradients of how much the substance is, we control the flow of water or nutrients. That's all you need to understand. We do have some pumps that will pump ions, so sodium and chloride. Okay, those are pumps. Just on the ascending, A means without water, so it's impermeable to water. That's the ascending going up. Okay, distal convoluted tubules. So that's going to be this area right up here. Okay. So the distal convoluted tubules, what I want you to be aware of those, that's where they make renin. So renin is the renin-angiotensin system. So that is, we're going to make the renin, which is going to go back. It goes renin, goes to the kidneys, makes angiotensin. Angiotensin goes to the lungs, gets converted to angiotensin 2. Angiotensin 2 comes back to the adrenal glands, which causes the adrenal glands to release aldosterone, which works on the kidney to hold on to sodium, so it increases the sodium pumps. Sodium pumps are located where? In the ascending loop of Henle. That's a very long way to go to just say we're going to hold on to water to make it so we have more fluid in our bloodstream. Erythropoietin is to make red blood cells. Okay, here's your nephron. This is the functional portion of your kidney. You go to a kidney doctor, he's called a nephrologist because he sounds smarter. And he worries about the nephron. Okay, collecting ducts. Don't want to get carried away with this stuff. It should be a lot easier than this book makes it out to be. So we squeeze the blood like a sponge. What comes out of the blood is a filtrate as it goes through the proximal convoluted tubule. Now we're doing what? We are starting to reabsorb water and ions in the proximal convoluted. Now as it goes down the descending loop, what are we doing here? Is we're pushing out what? We're going to be pushing out water, okay? Further reabsorption of water. Now, as we come to the ascending loop, as we're moving up, the ascending loop, where's a picture of that? So the descending is the thin portion, the ascending is the thick portion. So on this one, we do not reabsorb water. On the ascending, we reabsorb nutrients, ions, and things like that. And as it comes up, we get to our distal convoluted tubule, and there we have more reabsorption of water. We have the sodium pumps and things like that. Okay. This right here is where we actually have a lot of drugs and stuff we'll act on. Our diuretics work on the descending a lot. Now we go to our collecting tubules. Collecting tubules, they're going to come down. So you can see right here, collecting tubules, they jump into our minor calyx, which then jump into our major calyx, which then empty into our ureters. Our ureters go down into our bladder. This right here is your detrusor muscle. This is the muscle right here that contracts and makes it so we can pee for distance. Okay, we have two ureters. All they do is they take the urine from our kidneys down into our bladder. Okay, urinary bladder, don't worry about this stuff. Okay, so here's our bladder. So right here, this is going to be our prostatic urethra, goes for our urethra, and heads on out. Women, you don't have a prostate, so you just fill up right here, and it just goes right through your external urethral sphincter. Okay? Don't worry about the ligaments. Kind of tell you where they are. Talked about the jugular muscle. The rugae, once again, so your liver can expand, you pee, and it gets smaller. It's general urethral orifice. So let me see. That's just this little muscle right here. Circular muscle. Gentlemen, ours is way up here. See, sphincter we talked about already. I don't really care about that part. What do you we're good on? Alright, we're good on this one.